the sheriff, who wasn't quite in office yet. And, but she was kind enough to come in and this is the budget that we came to. It's, a lot of it is offset by, increased revenues, at the House of Correction, which is coming to fruition. We have a tentative agreement with, ICE for a 50% raise in, boarding. We're just negotiating the date that it starts. We want it to start in January and we're working on that. We want to start retroactive to January. We do have the numbers. There was two pieces. One was a projected increase in numbers. Second was a projected increase in rate.
Looking so spiffy this
You guys
morning.
look so ready to go. If I was gonna do it, Luz, what I would do is just, in there, I would start with the county attorney. And why don't we just work our way through the book? You guys, hate to pressure you, but we only have 30 minutes, so you got like, what, 10 minutes tops? Make it count.
The county attorney is on, yep. So we'll turn it over to the county attorney.
Oh, he's over there.
She's ill.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we should hear from the,
Yep.
while we're waiting for a forum, we should
Yes.
hear from the people.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, you are.
Sure. I'm sorry I'm not there, but I promise you would not want me there.
Here we go.
Good? Okay. So the county attorney budget is pretty much status quo. There were a few things that were moved around, which can account for some of the figures looking a little funky. For example, one of the victim witness advocates was just moved a line item. Other than that, it is essentially the same as last year. The only increase, other than the recommended salary for the county attorney, which was set by you all last year, is the assistant county attorney looks higher. It's a little bit deceptive. Last year, one of the county attorney positions was inadvertently left off the budget, and so this is just that position. We were able to only fund it for half the year, last year, so we did save the county half a salary last year, but this is just restoring a position which was and has been always in place. So if it looks a little higher, that's a little bit deceptive, but everything else remains pretty status quo. And I'm happy to take questions, but you'll have to maybe at least raise your hand so I can see you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, is there any
Oh,
questions?
well, then there's no one. Does anyone have questions? All right, moving on to the sheriff's office.
Go ahead, you're up, Sheriff.
Okay. We'll go to my. All right, well, good morning. Yes, this is the budget that I inherited but had some say in. In 10 minutes, I guess, I feel like questions might be better, but nobody seems to have.
I mean, I think the big thing is on your budget, like what are the significant deltas that you saw on here, whether added or subtracted? Does that make sense?
Yes, well, this is my first one, so added or subtracted is a good question. It is worth mentioning, if it wasn't mentioned before, if everyone doesn't have it, that the contract for the employees is not in here.
Okay.
So the deputies' salaries, it looks like it went down, but it's actually going to increase with the passing of the this new salaries. So that will be something to keep an eye on when you're approving those contracts. The sheriff's salary did go up, which the delegation voted on last year. We have let's see about some other things. I don't see a lot of changes in terms of big increases, and a lot of these things, as Mr. Bauer mentioned, are offset by the income we take in from ICE transports and the US Marshals. So a lot of these things do have offsetting revenues, which is unusual from my experience in running a law enforcement agency. So it definitely makes it more complicated to look at from my standpoint. But it's nice to have those things offset.
Question, Madam Chair.
Good.
So, go ahead if you had
All right,
something.
well, thank you.
I'm not sure.
I actually had three questions. One, on the overtime line, it shows you didn't spend $20,000 this year, but that was left over. And yet you increased the overtime by 60,000. What can you explain that?
So that is definitely a lot of things that we did not spend last year are definitely things that I'm gonna be tracking this year, because I wasn't here last year. So I don't have a great answer for that. I bet Mr. Bauer can help me on the overtime expenditures.
We're just looking at an $80,000.
Mr. Bauer.
So,
Yeah, the biggest difference is that a lot more ICE transports. It goes along with the offsetting of the revenue by our working with ICE. Remember, our ICE agreement, we only hold criminals. We do not hold people that are simply held in, because they don't have the proper paperwork. So these ladies and gentlemen that are held at our jail have committed crimes, served their time, and now are awaiting deportation.
so you anticipate a large increase that would require the $80,000 in additional overtime funds?
Yes, sir.
So we should-
Mostly for transport.
We'll see it in the revenue subcommittee, right?
Yes, sir.
We'll see the offset come in there.
And I had two other questions.
Can I, just to address that, look, I hope that next year, I hope to have a core, but I also hope to have a chart that explains exactly how we're handling that. And because, so when we spend that extra $80,000, we're actually, ideally
Making money.
making it, yes. So it's coming out of my budget in that line, so we need the money to pay it out, but then it's, coming in on that revenue line. And I do hope as I start to understand these things, to be able
Yeah.
to demonstrate it for everyone, how that is offset, because yes, we need that 80,000 in there to pay it out, to benefit the county as a whole moving forward.
And on line 245, special deputies, it shows $138,000 that unexpended balance. Yet you're asking for below just a couple of $1,000s more. If you didn't spend $138,000, why do you need the?
Are you using
It
three-quarter numbers, Representative
says
Harrington?
2024 unexpended
Yes.
balance.
Actually, yes.
But that's
Great.
that's through the third quarter.
Oh,
Okay, well, it doesn't say that on the thing here. It's not clear. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
there's-
that's,
You anticipate a very large expenditure of special deputies in the
so
fourth quarter then?
it is the same answer as before, because those special deputies we're using to get that income on those ICE transports and the US Marshals. So the unexpended balance is not an accurate number for the entire year. So it is less than that, but that is also money that we use.
So you expect a very
to-
big bump in the fourth quarter of money for special deputies. I mean, approximately more than half of the total budget for the year.
I would say I have no idea, because I would, what those numbers are. But, I would say that we need to spend that money on those deputies to get that other revenue.
And the same thing on the vehicle lease. Is that because they expect a lot of a lot of the days, again, I guess this is up to the third quarter that, less than half the budget was spent, so you expect to
Yeah,
spend
we
more
actually,
than half in the third.
we actually
fourth
only-
quarter.
we only pay, we call it vehicle lease, it's actually a vehicle purchase. We only pay it twice a year. So we don't pay it like a normal car payment would be paid monthly.
Right.
We only pay it twice a
So one
year.
of those payments is gonna be in the fourth quarter.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
So is that final number available then for the end of the year for that?
Sure, and then the delegation has it.
Okay.
I thought Janet sent it to everybody.
It's in there.
are you on the executive committee?
Yes.
So I'm gonna star that your question, because, when we shift into the 9 o'clock meeting, the revenue portion will come in and
Okay.
I hope we can better answer
Fair
that
enough.
question when we do the revenue this afternoon.
That was all I had.
Are there other questions for the
Peter,
sheriff?
question.
Representative Schmidt, did you have a
No,
question?
no, I thought maybe, Jeff moved his hand, I thought he was up.
Okay, are there other questions for the sheriff? No questions? Thank you very much.
And I will say, just as a reminder that that the end of the year last year ended, without a sheriff in place. So I don't think it's acceptable that I don't know the answers to a lot of these
Right.
questions, and are definitely as January 1st, or January.
I think we
I
understand.
think
You can't be
you're on top of it.
Yes.
That's a little slack.
Yeah.
Okay,
We didn't go.
with, no more questions, then can we move to the community corrections program, drug court and transitional housing program?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Gonna forego the formal presentation I usually give on other programs and just talk about that. Our transitional housing, drug court, mental health court, bail supervision, we're just supervising, under 600 folks in the community between all of those programs right now. We continue to be role model and a leader in the state with our best practices and our programs. Overall, our budgets, are down. Our transitional housing budget is the only one that went up a little bit this year because of a small percentage salary increase last year that was given to them. In our drug court budget, you'll see that we do receive a large majority of that money coming back in revenue from the state, just under $563,000. So I'm happy to take questions if people want to know specifics about what we do.
The transitional housing, where do you, I have no idea where is our transitional? housing?
So if you're standing in front of the House of Corrections, our housing units are to the right,
Okay, I've seen
so
that.
they are on the complex.
So is that Kane House and all that? Is
No,
that different? That's gonna be community partners, right?
so Southeastern has a portion of that now, and when they acquire, when Community Partners acquires Southeastern, I think that's gonna be the plan.
But you have your own separate housing in there besides Ben?
Yes, we've always had it for,
2009.
yeah, 15 years. And these are ladies and gentlemen, that have completed programming in the jail, but upon release, they'd have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And based on nowhere to go,
End up back in the jail.
and then yes, sir, they'd end up back in the jail.
Right.
So we find them jobs. When they can, they contribute towards their stay, but the most important thing is to save enough money to get out of there.
For sure.
That's the biggest thing. So that other people, as they graduate from programs in the jail, can take their place.
Yeah.
But
Last year, our average length of stay for the 15 men that we housed, 35 days, and the average length of stay for the 5 women that we typically have is 39 days.
And you're able to transition them out somewhere else?
Yeah, and so we triage our waiting list. We give priority to the folks that come out of the jail. And then, the folks who are on supervision, get a second bite at the apple, and then we take probation, we take, parole, anybody who's coming back to Strafford County. Those are our last 2-tiered people. And our case managers have thorough case management plans that they go over every week with our residents. They go to self-help meetings, they pay 30% of their rent after 30 days of living there. If they can't afford that, they do a day in the work program. Well-oiled machine at this point. Back in, when we first started the program, we actually started it on Second Chance Act, federal grant funds. And we proved it to the county that it was, made sense fiscally and morally, and so we continue to do that.
Thank you.
and there were
I'm hoping-
buildings that already existed.
It's awesome.
There was space that was already there.
I'm hoping that one of these days I'll be part of the tour because I'm very interested in.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, we'd love to. We just took our 2 new judges upstairs around, and we'd love, anytime, please contact me. We'd love to take you around.
That's the committee I'm on. I'm on housing in the
Oh.
Hampshire House.
Oh,
Yeah, So
wonderful.
it's definitely, and actually, both recovery houses that went to municipal county, but lodging houses, which would fall under transitional housing, where you have a shared kitchen and all that. is something we want to work on. So we definitely want to talk to you.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Representative Sully, you're recognized.
Thank you. Do we work with and this might be a separate division, but a juvenile diversion program, or do we partner with any of those within the county?
We do not.
We do not. Okay.
No, a long time ago, there was some things that went through the sheriff's office with the school resource officer and whatnot, but I don't know that that actually still happens.
No, and in fact, the state is very strict about making sure that there's no, that they're not treated together in any way. So, our main focus and our main finances and our main responsibility are adults. So we really, it's not possible to intertwine the programs.
Thank you.
Other questions from the subcommittee?
you.
Seeing none, we move on to Department of Corrections.
Good morning. I'll forego my formal part of the presentation as well. Ultimately, I'll just tell you that the budget for the Department of Corrections is about $66,000 less than it was last year. That has to do with analysis of spending from last year, making cuts where I can make cuts. Significant increases that you'll see are under food. There's an additional $322,000 for food. That's based off of an increase in the population, as well as an increase in the cost of food products that we purchase there. So those are the most significant aspects of the budget. I'm happy to take any additional questions that you may have.
Representative Harrington, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, since I've been busting you for the last 10 years over this. Great job with the overtime. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And by the way, now that you're a TV star, could I have your autograph?
Absolutely. I just assume stay out of the media. But that work on overtime
Good
it
job,
has to
really,
do
I
with
mean that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It has to do with having some effective negotiations with contracts. That's obviously going to be discussed in the executive committee, and I'll leave that discussion there unless you have specific questions. But the fact of the matter is as I've said before, no one has ever heard somebody say when I grow up, I want to be a corrections officer, and so we need to make it an effective level of payment to bring qualified people into the facility. And
I have to tell you, I quote you on that off.
well, all right. But that's generally my overview of the Department of Corrections and its operation and the expenditures. I'm also tasked with talking to you about HOC laundry. That's a flat budget that has no increase. And then the IB operation is presented to you as well. And there's a significant decrease there. That's because we've effectively utilized staffing in a different manner over there. So that's our operation in a nutshell. I'll take any additional questions if we.
He beat me to it. I was gonna ask.
Representative Sully, you're recognized.
Thank you. So when we had our tour of the facility, I had
Yes.
asked you a specific question related to undergarments for
Yes.
inmates. If people aren't aware that our inmates are given recycled undergarments when they are entered in that are sterilized and reused. And so I question whether it'd be financially feasible for us to give people their own brand new undergarments instead for sanitary reasons, among others. And so just asking for follow-up about that information.
So my proposed budget is 18,716. I've taken DOC population numbers from 2024, of which I will say to you, I believe that I'm gonna have more in 2025. But the cost per unit to get a more accurate number, I've taken out the protected custody offenders in that. So I have for females, it would cost $1.64 for a pair of underwear. For one pair of socks, it'd be $1.10, and for a bra, it would be $5.34. Now that's broken down when we purchase an aggregate, obviously. But ultimately, if I have a total of 527 females that were booked into my facility, and then 1,931 males, where males is $2.57 for underwear, $1.10 for socks, and obviously they don't have to wear a bra. That would constitute an additional purchase of $34,034.79 to purchase and issue new garments to every individual that comes in. And I say every individual because it would be remiss if I said that I would just do it for the females and not the males or vice versa, because inevitably I would have to spend money on litigation because of that. So the difference being around $15,000, a little over $15,000, if I were to just issue those out. In addition to the fact that we sometimes have to replace items because they get torn or, and while inmates have the ability to purchase new garments on their own, should they choose, that's what the overall cost would be.
So is it, I'm just curious what it would be if we did just the underwear and not necessarily the socks. No, I mean, I have less objection to people wearing socks someone else has worn.
Sure.
Underpants somebody else's.
So I would have,
Yeah,
give me
sure.
5 minutes and I'll do
Sure.
calculations for just underwear for those individuals, and I'll let you know.
Okay, since, are there other questions that doesn't require analysis of underwear? Okay,
It's fascinating. Let's not get that one out.
so, should I call the roll before, the vote?
Yeah, I would.
I had one other question.
Go
on this
ahead,
issue.
Representative.
On the drug court, and I never wanted to complain when spending goes down, but I thought this program was very effective. And I see a fairly substantial decrease in spending on that. Is that because it's working well, or can anyone speak to that?
So, which,
Drug court.
Drug court. It's,
Well, we had a director leave this year that went to the state. And so the salary is a little bit different from that, it's gonna be a little bit different from that line. We also had switching case managers, so that's.
okay, so these were just structural issues, not no problematic.
Yeah, not at all,
Okay,
no.
I just wanted to make sure. I
Thank
think
you.
that's pretty successful program.
Yeah, and we continue to increase our collaboration with, the mental health.
That's all I wanted.
While we're waiting for our response from, Superintendent Brackett, I will call the roll. Bay, present, Representative Burton.
Here.
Representative
I'll
Hall,
confirm that. He said.
Representative Hall, up here, Representative Harrington.
Here.
Representative Malone, up here, Representative Schmidt.
Yeah.
Representative Selig, here, Representative Smith.
Here.
So, 4. That's 6, and so we have a quorum.
Shocking.
Pardon me?
Shocking, yes, we do.
I know. And we're still,
I'd be on time with the Christmas.
I know, I have, wait, everything,
I always forget.
all the way to my shirt.
The motion in order, Madam Chair,
Pardon me?
is a motion in order.
Yes,
So I'll move approval of the proposed budget.
second, second by, Representative Harrington. So,
May I make a motion? Or do they need to speak to their motions first?
do you want to speak?
No, we understand that the sheriff is not yet experienced and as next time around, you'll have more questions and so forth and so on, and you'll have a year of experience. But the budget is, all understandable. The superintendent is talking to the, looking at the sock and undergarment question, and we'll have an answer to us, but I'm happy to.
Are you
see
looking
So,
to-
are we,
I'm
are,
going to make an amendment,
Okay,
okay,
right, so I'm just waiting for the.
waiting for the number.
Right, so my amendment, once I have the number, will be to amend the budget, to increase the budget by the amount that would cost to purchase underwear for inmates. Because I believe inmates should not have to wear someone else's underpants.
Was that,
Um,
is that just underwear or did that include bra?
I'm happy to just include underwear. I'm recognizing our limited financial resources. I am satisfied if this covers underpants
Okay,
to be specific.
Yesterday.
Today.
As
So we're waiting for the amount to actually, vote on the amendment.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
The amount, for just underwear for both males and females is $12,730.
Amend my motion to include that.
Oh, well, so I'm making an amendment to add that to
What's
the
that? It
budget,
does not
$12,730 just for underpants.
So somebody second her amendment.
Right, we second my amendment.
Second. Do we have a second for the amendment?
Yes, I'll
Okay.
second it.
And then we have to call a vote on the amendment to add 12,700.
Yeah, I have a question on the amendment, please.
Yeah.
Sheriff. Okay, so we give somebody a new pair of underwear. They eventually take them off and they put them someplace to get washed.
They watched them.
They wash them themselves.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they're assured that that's theirs. Now, if someone stays in the jail for 9 months, is one pair of underwear gonna be good enough, or do they get
This
it
is,
every 6
this
weeks?
is based
or-
off of 3 pair of underwear that we issue to everybody that comes into the.
And that's it for the duration?
That is, that is not it for the duration. In the event that there is, I'm required by statute to provide a certain amount of products to the individuals. If somebody has accident, I'm not gonna make them.
Right, I understand
Yeah,
that.
so I would have to replace them. So this amendment, as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that I have approximately $18,000 that I've budgeted for inmate clothing. Now, that's not just, understand that that's also the smocks that we have, the replacement stuff. I have to buy Crocs for individuals if they don't, for them to be able to wear inside the facility. So this would be to add that 12,730 in addition to the 18,000, so that I can provide new underwear to individuals who come into custody. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So a motion for an amendment has been made and seconded, so we should take a vote.
Right.
Representative Burton.
Yes.
Representative Hall, Representative Harrington,
No,
Representative Schmidt,
Yes,
Representative Selig,
Yes,
Representative Smith,
yes,
I vote yes. So it's been carried, so is there, are you, going to modify your motion, Representative
I
Schmidt?
already said that.
As
amended.
amended, so you're voting as
As
amended.
amended, second? Seconded by Representative Selig, so we'll call the vote for the
Amended.
amended, approval of the amended budget. Representative Burton,
Yes.
Representative Harrington,
no,
Representative Schmidt,
Yes,
Representative Selig,
yes.
Representative Smith,
yes.
and I vote yes. So, we're done, so we're closing this,
50 seconds to spare.
with 50 seconds to
So you
spare.
have a motion to adjourn.
We're, do we have a motion to adjourn, or I make a motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
Seconded. Motion, made and seconded, we're adjourned.